All right, hi everybody. My name is Fred Dixon. I'm the product manager for BigBlueButton. This is our 9th developer summit being held in Porto Alegre. And I'm going to give you an update of the project, what we're working on, and the plans ahead. So if you have any questions, feel free to type it in the chat. So for those of you that are joining, maybe not familiar with BigBlueButton, so BigBlueButton is an open source web conferencing system for online learning. It's real-time sharing of audio, video, slides, chat, desktop. And the current version, which is released as 1.0 earlier this year, has the features listed here. There's lots more information on the BigBlueButton.org website, but its target market is universities, colleges, educational institutions, commercial companies, anybody teaching students online. The product is directed towards online learning. It's a very active open source project. You can see we have over 3,200 forks now in the project. Quite an active community. There's over 50 people over the last couple of years who have contributed to BigBlueButton. And you'll see the pace of the project is even increasing with all the clients that we've been working on. These are the core developers, the core committers to the project. So unlike an open source project where everything gets committed, it all goes through these people to make sure that we have a really high quality project. The importance of stability and usability are paramount, because if it's not stable or people can't figure out how to use the feature, it doesn't matter what the feature does. So yeah, lots of focus on the quality of the project. Okay. We also use BigBlueButton to develop BigBlueButton. So here's an example of a developer meeting we had a few weeks ago. Here we were sharing 15 webcams in the meeting. The last summit was in Ottawa on May 2016. And this current summit, the 9th summit, it's in Porto Alegre. This is a screenshot of us, I think it was yesterday. It's being broadcast with BigBlueButton. And there I am here. This is where I'm sitting here today. So if you hear anything in the background, it's just people around us working on the product. Okay. One aspect of the product is really important is accessibility. There's a statement of accessibility on our website. It's important to us because we do focus on online learning. So making sure students with disabilities, such as students who are blind, can use a screen reader, and students who are hearing impaired will have some capabilities in this new release we're working on, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. The development cycle, it previously was trending around 17 months. We did a full release in 12 months. We're hoping to do it even shorter this time. We are expecting to release the beta for 1.1 very soon. It's been a week of testing it and strengthening it, and we've got documentation to write and so on. Also, in terms of like the support for WebRTC, we currently have support for audio in both Firefox and Chrome. This is my audio is going through WebRTC, and Internet Explorer, or actually Edge, is providing, looks like going to be supporting WebRTC 1.1. So when it's there, we'll basically make sure that if you're using Edge, you can also use WebRTC for audio. So let's talk about the 1.1. So these are the features here that we've got: faster desktop sharing, breakout rooms. I'll be going through these in a moment. Closed captioning, responsive playback, client logging, and some updates to the core. We're using FreeSwitch 1.6.11, which supports something called forward error correction, which makes the audio even more resilient against low bandwidth connections or connections which there's lots of packet loss. They're basically putting in important, a more compressed version of important packets in important packets that have already been sent in future packets. So if those previous packets hadn't been received, they could be reconstructed from the lower quality. It smooths the audio out, and I've experienced firsthand this when I compare with 1.0 and 1.1. Using Java 8, the latest version of Red 5, and will also be running on Ubuntu 16.04. So we'll be able to use systemd and other things. Okay, so breakout rooms. There's videos up on the website. If you go to bigbluebutton.org/videos. But as an overview, we wanted to make sure that students, instructors could put students into breakout rooms, have them collaborate for a little bit, and bring them back. So the breakout rooms appears as an option inside the gear icon for moderators. When they choose it, the moderator has the ability to choose the number of breakout rooms, the time limit, whether you want recording true or false, and you'll be able to drag and drop students back and forth between the breakout rooms. So this way, it's very easy to set up the profile for the students. When the instructor clicks start, each student put into a breakout room will get a dialog like this that says you've been invited to join a breakout room. And by accepting it, you'll leave the audio for the conference. Once the students are in breakout rooms, the instructor will see in the main user list which breakout room they've gone into, and for each breakout room how many users there are. And then there's two buttons we put. One that lets the instructor join the audio bridge for the breakout room. That's just switching the B leg of their audio to that of the audio conference for that breakout room. It's analogous to the instructor walking around a table and kind of listening in on the students and maybe talking a bit with them. And then the other option is that they can fully join the breakout room. So they can click, open up in a new tab, and they can watch the breakout rooms. When I gave this presentation to one school, they said, or I talked about breakout rooms to one school, they said, could I have 4 tabs opened up and just monitor all the breakout rooms? And of course, the answer is yes. We've also worked on the presentation playback as well to make it a bit more responsive. So we've cleaned up the UI a bit. It's the webcams in the lower right, the presentation in the upper left, and now you can actually view the thumbnails by looking at the option here to clicking on it will actually expand and show the thumbnails. Okay, and this way they're all hidden, but you're using the maximum amount of real space. And it's also responsive as well. So if you make the presentation playback area smaller, it'll flow around. Closed captioning. This was really important for us, especially for schools which had students with hearing disabilities. So the way it worked, it got in was we did it as a layout. So the module for closed captioning is in there, but it's not visible until you choose the closed captioning layout. If you're a moderator and choose it, you have the ability to choose a language. And then once you choose, the language will open up in a new tab. And when you go into that tab, you have the ability to take ownership of it. So what this means is that a school or an educational institution can have multiple stenographers, people who are providing the live captioning, do it in multiple languages at the same time. And then when students go, they can choose which language they want to view. Okay? And then if the student clicks on, like, say, English, for example, they'll see the text as it's typed in live. And actually, we can try this out. So I'm going to go to the closed captioning, and I'm going to choose English. And if everybody in the lower right-hand corner chooses the layout for closed captioning and then chooses English, this is the class that is about to start. You should see me typing. Should see me typing as the class is about to begin. Now, obviously, the instructor is not going to type, but there would be a stenographer who would maybe have like a stenograph machine, and they would be injecting text into the box at the speed of the speaker's audio or speaker's presentation. So yeah, if you go to the closed caption layout and choose English, you can see the captions that I just did. And the captions, I could actually push the layout to everybody as well. Let's try that. But you can choose it if you go click on the lower hand corner, choose, I think it shows default, and then choose closed captioning layout. And the captions will appear in the recording as well as subtitles. So they get processed all the way through. So we're capturing them live, we're giving people updates to them live, and then we're putting them into the captions, the subtitles, and we'll have multiple language streams as well. Another thing that we've been working on is the desktop sharing. So the desktop sharing in 1.1 is done using a Java applet. But with Chrome, Chrome stopped supporting Java. And we kind of expect, as applets, we kind of expect other browsers will at some point. So what we did was we changed it to be Java Web Start. So this would allow this allows Chrome to use desktop sharing again. It also provides for a faster refresh rate, captures the cursor, and it doesn't require a new port. It just uses the same 1935 port. And what happens is it actually works on Mac, Unix, and PC as well. We provide some callouts to help the instructor start the desktop sharing, and they can pause and resume it as well. So here's an example of what it looks like when you start the desktop sharing. You'll see a couple screenshots that kind of guide you through opening up the JNLP file. And the screenshots are there because it's actually different depending on what OS you're using and what browser you're using. So we basically created a series of workflows in screenshots or small images to guide the user through for whatever combination they're on. The BigBlueButton client knows if you're on Firefox and OS X, so it gives you the callouts to just guide you through on that platform. One thing we did lose was the ability to do region sharing on Mac. So you can still share a region on Windows, but you can't share a region on the Mac anymore. It just shares your home screen. But still, we're very happy with the speed of it. It's essentially running the FFmpeg inside of on your computer, just capturing the screen and streaming it directly to Red 5. So it's very efficient, very fast, or faster than it was before. It's still not fast enough to do like full motion video, nor is the audio transmitted. So and it's a screen video codec too. So it's not fast enough to do the video yet. Probably never get there. We'll probably still suggest to people they pipe it into they put a link in the chat, and it's not broadcasting audio. My audio is still coming through the connection to FreeSwitch. And this is what it looks like when you start it. You can pause and resume. So other enhancements we've done. So we've done a bit more to give visibility for what's going on in the client. So there's some logging that can be turned on, which will send some logs for the client back to the server. This allows us to get some visibility in terms of what happens in the client when a user's in a session, just so that we can further profile and improve the quality of the product. We also added thumbnails to the recordings as well. So when you do a get recordings call, it comes back with some images now, and these images can be used in the front end to present sort of thumbnails. It helps the recordings pop out a little bit. This is an example of the Sakai integration, which we've done a lot of work to as well, to update for the Sakai meeting tool. There's also a new API call called Update Recordings. For those of developers, the recordings can have metadata, which is passed along in the create command. This gives us the ability to update that metadata after the recording is published. Okay, so the status. So we're finishing up the packaging and documentation and testing, just finding bugs and fixing them. It's always a labor of love. We're getting very close. We had hoped to have something out. I would love to have announced that it's available, but we're really close, but we're still got a few more things to resolve yet. So you expect to see an announcement for BigBlueButton Dev, moving to BigBlueButton Beta, and you'll see that soon in the developers mailing list. That's okay, the wind just blew a door behind me. Something we've been working on, which we're very kind of excited to share, is just a very simple front end to BigBlueButton. And if you've read through the documentation, BigBlueButton is always meant to be front-ended by some other application. But we wanted to create an application that also, if you wanted to just run a BigBlueButton server, have some very simple front end that you could use, we wouldn't tell you, you wouldn't necessarily have to install WordPress or use Moodle or something. So we created a front end which we codenamed Greenlight, and it's on the GitHub repository. And the idea is it's a very simple front end. You can put it on the BigBlueButton server, on your BigBlueButton server, and users can come in and they can basically join a room. And the rooms are just randomly generated, and there's the ability to copy that URL or mail it to somebody, and you just enter your name and click join. Everybody joins in as a moderator. When the room is done, you can see the previous rooms here, and it's a way to actually just have a room in a session without having to do really any overhead. So there's more to it though. You can actually sign in through OAuth. Actually, I'll go back here. I have to point out in the upper right-hand corner. So we added OAuth support. So it can be configured to let users sign in through their Twitter or their Gmail account. And when they do that, we'll give them their own landing page. And that page, your personal room, will have like a URL that is just specific to them. And when they start, this time, instead of everybody coming in as a moderator, only the person who owns the room will come in as a moderator. And everybody else will come in as viewers. And so the person owning the room, it's kind of like their personal room. They can start the recordings, and the recordings will be visible here underneath. So we'll show the date, the thumbnails, the duration, the links, and a couple of ways to control the recordings. Okay. And And let's see. If somebody is given a URL invite to a room, they won't be able to enter until the moderator, the owner of the room, goes into it. And later on, the owner of the room can go back and can manipulate the recordings. So they can publish them, so everything's visible. They could be unlisted, where it's only the owner of the room could see them, or they're unpublished, which means nobody can see them. So a lot of things here that have been in BigBlueButton for years, but just trying to put together a really nice front end for it. So this is written in Rails 5, uses OAuth for logins. It will run within a Docker image on a BigBlueButton server, because BigBlueButton 1.1 is now on 1604. It's very easy to install Docker. And this way, everything that's running inside of it will be kind of self-contained. And it also serves as a reference and invitation to other developers on how to build a front end to BigBlueButton. And so it's up right now on GitHub. You'll see some continued improvements over the coming months. We hope other people contribute to it, fork it. And again, it's meant to be a very simple front end to a BigBlueButton server that if you really just want to use the BigBlueButton server and don't have your own front end, you can install this. You can install Greenlight and just start using it. Okay, there are two other presentations that are coming a bit later, the HTML5 client and the mobile client. I'll just touch on a high level. This is the screenshot, or not a screenshot, but this is the UI design that you can see on our website for the HTML5 client. It represents a new kind of mobile-friendly UI, and this is where the project is headed towards in terms of the user experience. On the HTML5 development, we're working towards getting the first release out in early or in 2017. You'll see a developer preview, and definitely by early 2017. And as before, as you've seen the project, we go to a beta, and then when we can't find any more bugs, we go to a release. But lots of people have been working on it. It'll have the updated UI that you see. Our target for the first release will have the viewer capabilities for BigBlueButton 1.1. And that means the things that you can do in the web-based client, you should be able to do in the HTML5 client. It'll be Android only. iOS doesn't support WebRTC. And we're working on ways to let the viewer receive a desktop sharing stream. And phase 2 will be more support for video and then the moderator presentation capabilities. The BigBlueButton client is written in Flash, which has worked out very well for us over the years, and we've been able to make use of WebRTC and then fall back to Flash if WebRTC is not supported on the browser. So actually, I'll talk to Fidel. It's going to be MCU, but we're also looking at SFU as well. So the MCU, we're currently using FreeSwitch to support the sharing of video. And if we do the simple case where just one desktop sharing stream has gone through FreeSwitch, and then FreeSwitch forwards it on to Red 5, there's not a lot of transcoding that goes on in FreeSwitch. So we're really trying to see if we can make use of the video capabilities in FreeSwitch. FreeSwitch supports it as an MCU, which doesn't really scale up well. That screenshot that I showed that had 15 webcams, that'd be pretty hard to do in FreeSwitch. So we're looking at using an SFU as well. And we're looking very hard at Corrento. Well, so Stephen posted in the chat, can HTML5 work on iOS except for audio? Except for audio and video. There's no sharing of media capabilities. And we haven't tried to use the BigBlueButton HTML5 client on iOS yet. And it's just, our thinking is Android has really good support for WebRTC on Chrome, and that's what we're targeting first. And Ben, yeah, we're actually looking pretty hard at Corrento. There's others out there as well, but Corrento's pretty nice. Jitsi and Janus, I think, are the other ones. So in terms of the Flex client, well, Adobe gives you the ability to take your application, convert it to AIR, and then compile it to Android iOS. And it actually works pretty well. The benefit there is we don't have to re-implement everything again if we want to get an iOS client. We just have to update the BigBlueButton client to Flex4, which is what we've been working on. So these are screenshots of the BigBlueButton client running on Android, or I'm not sure there's Android iOS. It might just be a simulator. But the idea is you'd be able to run it on the mobile client. Yeah, Corrento is what we're looking at, Ben. So the idea is that we will have an iOS client and we will be updating the UI. This is more longer term, but we will have an iOS client. We'll be updating the UI for the BigBlueButton client to support sort of the mobile interface. The goal is to have a unified user interface across all platforms. And we've done a lot of work on the UI design, and we put a lot of work into the mobile client as well. And the goal is to have a single client for both web and mobile. And of course, there's the HTML5 track as well. So we're kind of covering off both options. So the WebRTC-based desktop sharing. So this is what we've been prototyping a lot with FreeSwitch. There'll be some documentation going up on the BigBlueButton website shortly on the details of it. But the idea is with FreeSwitch, you can send a video stream to it very easily. FreeSwitch works as an MCU, so it wants to mix multiple video streams. But if you kind of restrict it, so there's only one video stream going to a bridge or to a conference, then there's only one transcoding event that occurs. And FreeSwitch has mod AV supported in it. So you can do a series of steps where you launch the screen sharing, you launch a screen sharing extension. This is how Chrome makes sure it's okay that the user's allowing to share their screen. Chrome prompts the user to share their screen or an application. Chrome then sends VP8 stream to FreeSwitch, and we do it in a separate conference. This is what we've been working on. And then we use mod AV to take that incoming stream and reconvert it into H.264 and send it to Red 5. And then Red 5 just receives an incoming stream today, very similar to what it does with the new desktop sharing. So the idea is with WebRTC audio, we use it if the browser supports it first, and if not, we fall back to Flash. Still works, still pretty decent. What we're looking at doing is, can we do the same thing with WebRTC desktop sharing? If the browser supports it, can we fall back? Can we use that? And if that is not supported, if you're using Internet Explorer or Safari or IE, can we fall back and use just the current Java WebStart desktop sharing? So this is the part where we're looking at. And if we do this, then we get the ability to send the desktop sharing stream to the HTML5 clients because they're already connected to the FreeSwitch. So lots of work has gone into this. You'll see some documentation go up on the website. If you look really closely, you can see a lot of the check-ins have been related to, some of the check-ins have been related to supporting this capability. It won't be turned on in BigBlueButton 1.1. We're still working on it and testing it. But you can see this is one of the paths to get desktop sharing for the HTML5 client. With desktop sharing and audio, we have a pretty serviceable client. The person on the mobile client wouldn't see the user's video, but if they can see the presentation area, which they can now, and they can see the desktop sharing, and they can do two-way audio and all the other capabilities that a viewer can do, you have a really good release for the first HTML5 client. Yeah, and here's what a screenshot. This is what the UI looks like in Chrome when you're asked to choose a screen to share. And this is what it looks like inside of BigBlueButton. It's just the, eventually when it comes to from mod AV through H.264 as an RTMP stream, it hits Red 5 and it just appears on everyone's desktop. So I touched on it earlier, that the goal with, you're seeing a lot of work on the mobile clients now, you're seeing a lot of work on the user experience, you're seeing a lot of work to explore options for video using WebRTC. The idea is that we're going to unify the BigBlueButton interface at some point with the same UI, and there are still some capabilities in BigBlueButton that we want to work on. Shared notes, multi-user whiteboard, the ability to strip the webcams, and full screen. And there are a few others as well. But this year is actually going to be a lot of focus on the mobile. So at this point, there's still two other presentations to come, the HTML5 presentation in about 20 minutes, and the mobile presentation as well, with Flex4. So at this point, I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. You can always ask questions to the mailing list, but be interested in people's feedback or any questions you have. So Flex4 is going to give us mobile and iOS, Fidel. So as we update it, we can then take the same code base and instrument it as a mobile client for Android and iOS. And we don't have to rewrite the whole mobile client, which is kind of what was done in the past. So a lot of this work is underway, and we're following the same UI that we created for the HTML5 client, which is where you'll actually see the UI for the desktop client, or the web client we call it, migrate to at some point. So yeah. Mobile has always been asked, and it's always something we've been working on. Hopefully the capabilities we've added to 1.1, faster desktop sharing, closed captioning, breakout rooms, these are things that are really important for online learning. But in parallel, we've been working pretty hard on the mobile clients as well. And all open source. Other questions? Yeah, so MCU stands for Media Control Unit, and SFU stands for Selectable Forwarding Unit. And basically, FreeSwitch is an MCU. It'll take all the incoming streams, reconstitute them into a single video stream, and send them out. Now, when you look at what we do with Red 5 today, it just forwards the incoming video packets to all of the users. So if there's 5 people sharing a webcam in a session, each person is broadcasting one stream. Let's say there's 5 people in a session, each person's broadcasting one stream to the server and getting 4 streams back. Whereas if it was FreeSwitch, you'd be broadcasting one stream to the server and getting 1 stream back. The problem is it takes a lot of CPU to mix the streams live. Some servers like Corrento and Jitsi, and I think Janus, but Jitsi and Corrento are the main ones I know of. They do it similar to Red 5. They do not re-encode the packets. I think they do to create different profiles, but the idea is that you don't have to use the different profiles. The server can just be forwarding packets, and that means it's a lot less CPU. So we're kind of looking at using FreeSwitch as an MCU, but for one restricted use case, which is the sharing of the desktop. And then for us to achieve the same scalability we have today in BigBlueButton with Flash and Red 5, with the ability to share 15 webcams, and it doesn't matter, the server's just forwarding packets. We have to use an SFU. There's no way you're going to do it with an MCU unless Moore's Law really kicks in big time. So looking at Corrento, it does similar things to Red 5, which regards to just forwarding packets, but it's all WebRTC. That's what we want. If we do the work right, this is all seamless to the user. They don't care whether they're sharing and it's going through Red 5 or Corrento. They just share webcams and it works. That's what we've been working on getting to. Just making it so you click the button and it works. Similar to the desktop sharing. If you do the desktop sharing with WebRTC, you click the button, the same button as before, a different user interface comes up, you click start, and then you're just sharing your desktop, and users are just receiving the stream. They don't know or care about what goes on underneath the hood. We do, as the implementers of it, but we don't want the users to worry about it. Any other questions? No, so Flex 4 is not with 1.1. So the current interface you see here is still Flex 3. We're working on upgrading it to Flex 4. It does mean we have to change all the UI layers. For more details, you can attend Chad's presentation. But there's a significant amount of changes that goes from using, gosh, I've forgotten the framework, the UI framework that we're using here for the Flex 3. But there's a significant amount of changes in the way the UI is rendered in Flex 4. It's a whole different rendering environment. But we're basically porting over or converting over all the UI capabilities we have into a new user experience using Flex 4. So again, the user's not going to care. At some point in the future version of the BigBlueButton client, you may see a UI that looks very similar here in the browser to what we have in the mobile experience. And it will be implemented using Flex 4. The user's not going to care. Right now, all that users care about is they go into a class and they can see the instructor and hear the instructor clearly and see the content and collaborate. And that it works and it's usable. That's what always our focus has been, but we always have been investing in the infrastructure to try to make sure we can upgrade it and take use of newer capabilities of the browser, like the WebRTC audio and for here, the mobile capabilities which are offered to us by Flex 4. So no, not 1.1, but in the future. You can see all the check-ins right now on the BigBlueButton website. It's all there. So our goal is to have some updates that we have on the mobile client, and you'll see those updates coming out in 2017. Any other questions? I will say it's kind of nice because over the years I would do these presentations and people would ask for, you know, faster desktop sharing or when's Breakout Rooms coming, and it feels good to get those capabilities in that people have been asking for a long time, making sure that they're solid, they're well tested, which is what we're doing with the 1.1 release, and then watching other people build on top of our project. I know some of you folks here in the session have been building on top of BigBlueButton for many years. Our goal is to make it really solid. And make it possible for others to extend it in ways that, whether they're at a school or college, or maybe you're a developer building on top of it, and to have it just work. Okay, unless there are any other questions, I'm going to stop recording. And I think we're good. All right, thanks for coming out, everybody.